Iceland is a place that by all geographical logic should be empty. For 1,000 years, this island was a graveyard of accidental death. It wasn't a destination, it was a hostile frontier. And if you lived here, you had to engineer your way to stay alive.
The first people on record to go to Iceland were Irish monks before 874 AD. They were seeking solitude to pray and live in quiet devotion. Shortly after, here come the Vikings. Norse explorers originally stumbled upon the island by accident during sea voyages in the late 9th century. But the settlement of Iceland was not an accident of navigation. It was a 9th century political exit. The Norsemen and the Gaelic people they brought with them were fleeing the consolidation of power in Scandinavia. The sentiment was Scandinavia had too many people and not enough good, open farmland for everyone. Powerful kings like Harald Fairhair of Norway were taking over territories and demanding heavy taxes. So chiefs and farmers who lost power and wanted to avoid the new law of the land chose to leave to Iceland. Europe barely knew this place existed. To European sailors and mapmakers, this was the edge of the known world. Some called it Tuli, the last land before nothing. No maps, no records, no name of its own yet. And when the settlers got here, no one was waiting. The monks were already gone. There weren't any indigenous people. The land was green and quiet. Yeah, this is a place they could settle. But what these early settlers didn't quite know yet is they would be trading political tyranny for environmental hostility. No infrastructure, almost no margin for error. Geographically, Iceland is a country with one of the most unique phenomena on the planet. It's the largest place on Earth where the mid-Atlantic ridge rises above sea level. Two tectonic plates pulling apart right under everyone's feet. And because of that, you get 30 active volcanic systems, thousands of earthquakes every single year, and weather that can go from calm to lethal in minutes.
Okay, so if you're sitting here today, it's easy to see the beauty of Iceland. But for those first settlers, this was a void. Survival here wasn't about conquering the land, it was about negotiating with it. And this is where we see the brilliance of architecture and engineering, all designed to solve a single problem: how to stay alive in a place that geographically wasn't built for humans.
This style of house is using the turf, which is an old Icelandic method dating back to 870. This was, in the olden days, the only way that we could keep warm was using this turf to insulate our houses, and then using fire or something to heat up our houses, using the turf to insulate.
An Icelandic turf house would be cut straight from the marshy ground, stacked like brick on a stone base, thick enough to trap heat and stop the fierce wind that could go straight through wood.
Later on, we discovered how we could use geothermal water to heat up our houses, which we still do to this day.
It's true. This is the turf house at Sky Lagoon, built to honor the ones early Icelanders lived in, and designed to have the water heat the buildings here. And that's not unique to this building. 90% of the homes in Iceland run on the same idea: hot water pulled straight from the ground, heating the entire country. But the turf house designs didn't last long. They would start decomposing after about 2 decades. Sturdier ones maybe lasted 50 to 70 years, but that is only with constant upkeep. Returfing the roof, patching the walls every year, it just wasn't efficient. Then in 1915, a hotel fire in downtown Reykjavik burned 10 buildings to the ground. The town council's response was immediate. They banned buildings made of wood. New buildings had to be stone or concrete. The turf houses weren't part of the law, but they didn't need to be. Once the capital started rebuilding in concrete, everything else started to look like the past, including turf. A strategic government campaign called them unhygienic, damp, bad for your health, and it pushed the people to update their dwellings. An hour-and-a-half drive and you're in Reykholt, the home of Snorri Sturluson. Many call him the greatest Icelander who ever lived. He was born in 1179 into one of the wealthiest, most powerful families in Iceland. But when he was 3, his father lost a legal dispute. Part of the settlement was giving Snorri away to be raised by another family. The family happened to run the most important center of learning in the entire country. So Snorri grew up surrounded by law, history, poetry. He married into money, inherited land, and became a Gothi, which is an ancient Icelandic chieftain, a political leader. By his 40s, he was one of the most powerful men in Iceland. And the greatest Icelander title is because he wrote foundational literary masterpieces that preserve medieval Norse culture. So he settled here in Reykholt in 1206. These are the ruins of his farmhouse and his turf house, and behind his house, he had a pool. For centuries, the story was that Snorri built the first pool in Iceland. That's actually just a legendary tale. The Book of Settlements is a great book for Icelanders, an important one that traces their identity. It's the book that lists the early Norse settlers of Iceland, and it already mentions a bath on that exact spot. So Snorri didn't build this pool. No one knows who built it, but he did inherit it. And the water comes from a hot spring that's about a football field away, 2 stone channels carried straight in. So what he did add is he ran the same water under the floor of his own house, heated from below, like we saw at Sky Lagoon. 800 years later, it's still one of the ways the whole country of Iceland stays warm.
Snorri, he bathes every day and wanted to have a pool by his house, so this is an homage to that.
Do you know why Iceland has all of these pools? Why is pool culture such a thing here? Well, the answer isn't so that we can take cute video for Instagram. It's actually not even for relaxation. It's for survival. In the early 20th century, drowning was the leading cause of accidental death in Iceland. In just 100 years, this island lost nearly 4,000 people to the sea. And get this, in 1820, records suggest that only 6 people in the entire country actually knew how to swim. So the government stepped in. They were like, this is a solvable issue. Our people can't just keep dying in this way. Here, in this environment, there's tons of other ways to die. But this is preventable.
So in 1940, Iceland passed a law making swimming lessons mandatory for every single child. They didn't build these pools for wellness like marketed today. They built them as training grounds so that fishermen and their children wouldn't die in the North Atlantic. Okay, so fast forward to today. Now we have places like this luxury lagoon with beautiful 7-step rituals and $100 entry fees.
Something that started off as a survival technique has turned into something that we use to not only survive, but kind of thrive in the community that we have here. Because we obviously have the great winters that are dark and sometimes a bit overwhelming. And the going into the pools and going swimming and going into the hot water kind of gives us a chance to have a little bit of vitamin D, exercise. Well, it kind of reconnects you a little bit. It is also, you know, in modern times, it's one of the few places where you disconnect. You don't bring your phone.
You can't really point to a time where it's transitioned. I think it's been a transition slowly and throughout our culture, that it's gone from being a survival to our culture and something that we just do as it's inherent in our DNA.
And in late 2025, UNESCO made it official. This pool culture is now recognized as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity.
Yeah, first I have to push them out, of course, because they have been eating only for 4 hours now, so they're not done. Obviously, they could eat all the time. And I mean, for a horse, it's really good actually to eat 24/7, isn't that crummy? So here, of course, have the exemplary Icelandic horses. Short and steady, very strong, as you can see.
Well, I have my Icelandic horse, Mukli. Wow. Me and Mukli. My beautiful Icelandic horse.
You know you can go out. Not native to Iceland. They came here with the people when they were settling. And like to say, people brought all the best horses over from England, from Norway, from Sweden. Come on, Bjarni, he's so unbothered. And then of course went even as far as to Mongolia, because Mongolian horse was kind of already prepared for the conditions here, right? They are short as well. They have very short and strong legs. Come on, Bjarni. We always say they have been here forever with the people. Since the people settled here, the horses have been here. And with the time, of course, they evolved into something like we have right now. They just were maybe slightly smaller, because there was not so much food back there at the time. And since then, basically, since they got this perfect horse, people said like, okay, we're happy with what we have. We're gonna call it an Icelandic horse. This is a perfect horse for traveling across the country, looking for a place to settle. And already back then, they shut the borders, and since they had been just very strict about it. So no other horse was allowed to come here. Also, whenever they left the island, they couldn't ever return. They wanted to have it as pure as they could, as it is one of the purest breeds in the world. And they of course wanted to stay safe, because at the time in Europe there were all those common horse diseases, right? Just going around and so on, and these guys are disease free, so I would really like them to stay this way.
Yeah, these horses are kind of like national icons, right?
They are like natural icons.
My horse. This one's yours.
They're really smart. They have developed a set of special skills, of course, in order to survive here. They're great companions. They're really, really social. As you can see, the second they go out, they run up to their friends.
They're so social.
They are very social.
They're smart. Like, look at them. They're all like, they have their friend groups.
Absolutely. This is the friend group of younger horses. And then they go back again. Okay. And Sarah's coming to push them out. Yes, they do have a friends group, like your horse is in this friends group of geldings. It's just hanging out there, over there right now. All right. Sorry, no,
This is the
friend group?
Yes. There's the owners riding horses, so they always stick together. Not to mention we don't have any wild horses in Iceland, just so you guys know, you cannot just steal a horse because all of these guys are marketed, all of them are owned by someone. I mean, somehow they had survived all those centuries here.
Yeah, it's part of their survival.
Yes, they needed to stick together in order to survive, so they seem rather happy, and I would be too with a work contract like that. So as a company, we own around 200 horses, but we never use all of them. At the stable right now, we have maybe around 60 horses that we really use, because the rest is on vacation. Yes, the rest is in a gigantic field in the south coast of Iceland, where they get to be together with their friends, just pretty much eating 24/7, sleeping, napping and playing. As you can see, they do like to do that. So we rotate them every 3-4 months or so. So all of them get the deserved time off, and they usually work 2 days in a row, and then they have at least 1 day off, and they can work for maximum 3 hours a day. Bestie, did the wake you up? So it is a really good life for them. They have this crazy lifespan. They can live up to 40 years, of course, because they're not so prone to injuries like other horses, and they live this disease-free life.
Hi friends, thanks for watching this film. As an independent journalist, you can imagine what it takes to produce something like this. For example, the time travel story, I logged 54 hours. The World Cup story took me 60 hours. Travel advisories, 32 hours. And when I do a film like this where I travel, I'm gone for about a week. So add that on top of those work hours. But I do this because it's my calling. I'm researching and learning and telling you these stories about it, but it's not free to make them. And doing it independently means it's all on me to keep financing it all. But if you want to help with that, my newsletter, Field Notes, is where I share what doesn't make it to the final cut. It's free. It's also a great way to support me. There's also a paid tier starting at just $5 a month or $50 for the whole year. And your contribution goes a long way in helping me doing this work independently. So thanks again for your support. Links in the description. Whaling in Iceland has been practiced for more than 800 years. For centuries, whaling wasn't a choice. It was another survival resource. Kavareki. It's a beached or drifted whale. It has another meaning too, a windfall or great stroke of luck. So while early use was sustenance, modern commercial whaling came later in the early 20th century with a fully fledged industry launching in 1948 and again in 2006. But it's important to note that local consumption of whale meat largely faded away during the 1990s and early 2000s, shifting into a niche product mostly bought by curious tourists rather than locals. That's right, most Icelanders don't even eat whale. Data shows that it's barely 2%. This industry survives because of tourists, with only one company left actually doing this. Yes, it is supply and demand, and all of that is colliding as Iceland tries to move forward to the future.
This harbor is a case study in policy friction. I've just been on a whale watching and puffin tour, an experience where my guides tell me about the beauty and importance of whales and other wildlife in this ecosystem. At the same time, there's ships just around the corner that do the exact opposite.
In April 2026, the Icelandic government authorized a quota of up to 318 whales for the summer season. At the same time, Parliament is drafting a bill for a permanent ban. Whale watching and commercial whaling, physically sharing the same water, operating on two different visions of Iceland's future. Reykjavik means smoky bay. The first settlers saw steam rising off the ground here and thought the island was on fire. It wasn't fire. It was the same geothermal water that later kept the people alive in the turf houses and now fills Sky Lagoon.
The weather in the winter is just changing all the time.
The buildings here, ironclad and stone, not just colorful, but purposeful and protected from weather and rust.
This is crazy. There's ducks, swans, pigeons.
Have a local drink made of crowberries, berries with their own survival story as one of the rare things that can actually grow in the harsh volcanic soil. A stop at Sandholt Bakery puts you in a family business that has endured since 1920, passed down through 4 generations, managed by a master baker holding decades of tradition. Reykjavik is where daily life persists through all weather conditions and 1,000 years of practice.
The pools, the horse laws, and the whaling quotas aren't separate stories. They are the mechanics of a survival blueprint that has been running for 1,000 years. Iceland has taken its history of environmental hostility and turned it into its most valuable commodity. This isn't just culture, it's a refusal to disappear. I'm sitting here reflecting. I just want to thank the Icelandic people for sharing their culture with us.